Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for today's expert webinar titled AWS VPC Endpoints. I am Ria from SpringPeople. We are India's largest enterprise training provider, and I will be your moderator for today's session. In today's session, we have Mr. Parul Kundra with us, a prominent figure in the world of cloud computing and AWS. With an illustrious career spanning over 15 years, he boasts a remarkable list of qualifications and accomplishments. Mr. Kundra's skill set extends to SQL and PLSQL, demonstrating his prowess in database management. He is also a proficient problem solver using Python, C, and C++. And has a solid grasp of data structures, showcasing his versatility in the world of programming and technology. Having conducted over 100 AWS corporate training sessions, Mr. Kundra specializes in preparing individuals for certifications such as Solution Architect, Advanced Architect, Cloud Practitioner, and System Operation Associate. His training methods are renowned for their effectiveness. Mr. Parul Kundra will let us know about Introduction to AWS S3, storage classes of S3, along with their cost and use case, S3 versioning and its importance. To all the participants, you can mention your questions in the chat box and it will be answered at the end of the session. Now, without further ado, let's start today's session. I would like to invite Parul Kundra to start the session. Over to you, Parul.
Thank you, Rhea. I hope I'm audible to all of you. So thank you so much for being here. And I think, again, there is some miscommunication that we are going to talk here on VPC endpoint, not on S3. So we'll be having a discussion on VPC's endpoint. So today the agenda is VPC endpoint. Now, first thing is why we want VPC endpoint, and what are prerequisites for having understanding of this particular topic. So for understanding this topic, you should be having an understanding of VPC. And since long back, I think it's long back, I already took a webinar on VPC and all those things. So today we'll talk on VPC endpoint, and there we are going to understand NAT gateways, and then we'll be using private links to connect to AWS services, that is connecting AWS services privately using VPC endpoint. And then we'll also see a new method of connecting EC2 instance using EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint. So this is going to be an agenda for today's webinar, and we are going to discuss this. But before that, I already said that we should be having an understanding of VPC. So what I did, I'm just showing you one diagram where suppose there is one VPC, and in one VPC there is one subnet in availability zone 1, and there is another subnet in availability zone 2. Fine. So this is the two important subnets we have. Fine. Now inside this subnet I have one server, and inside this subnet I have another server. Fine. Now this is my public server, public subnet, and this is my private subnet. Means the resources inside this subnet are public and they have accessibility of outside world, means they are connected to internet gateway and they are accessible to the outside world. But what about the resources which are in private subnet? They don't have accessibility of internet. And you must be thinking, why would I be needing a connectivity of internet? Because if they are in private, let me give you one situation, and I would request you to think on it. Now, what exactly the situation is? Do you have cell phones? You say, yes, definitely we have cell phones, we have laptops. Now, every few months you get updates. Yes, we keep on getting updates, we keep on getting notification. Then how do you update that? Tell me one thing. So you update only when you come under Wi-Fi, or you switch on or your mobile data. What if you are getting updates and you are not switching on your mobile data and you are not connecting to Wi-Fi? Will you be able to update? Because these updates are available on internet and you need to have access of internet, and then you can update yourself. So it's fine if my server is in private subnet or if my database is in private subnet. Perfectly fine. We wanted to keep it securely. We don't want anyone to come. But what if I wanted to update my database? What if I wanted to patch my systems? So how to do that? How to do that if I don't have internet connectivity? How I do that? If I don't have internet connectivity, how will I be doing that? Will I? It is possible? No, it is not possible, because you don't have internet connectivity. Then should I make internet gateway connectivity with my subnet? And if I'm going to do this, what will happen? So it will have an internet connectivity, but anyone from public can access my resources, because I'm connecting my subnet, which is actually private, to the internet gateway, and which can lead to a danger. So actually, it is going to lead to a danger, and if it is going to be a dangerous thing, then I can never connect my private subnet with internet gateway. So this is what fully restricted. Now, what is the solution? How to update my private server? How to update my private server? Because I need to have internet connectivity. How will I be doing that? Fine. So in that case, we'll again go to the topic, and the topic which we are discussing right now is NAT gateways. And then I will explain you the drawback of NAT gateway, and then we'll discuss VPC endpoint. So everything which we understand in our life also, we learn from an experience. Fine. And that's why we say that never demoralize. If it is a failure also, then also you are learning something. Same is with NAT gateway. So same, what right now I will get a solution from NAT gateway, but NAT gateway has its own disadvantage also. So we'll be doing and talking on other things as well. Fine. Now, second thing. Now my organization. So what I need to do, first of all, understand what I need to do that. So what I'll be doing, I will be deploying NAT gateway. I will be deploying NAT gateway in a public subnet. Fine. And then I will be making its entry in the route table of private subnet. So if I do that, what will happen? It will have, now my private gate subnet is not connected with internet gateway. It's connected with NAT gateway, and over NAT gateway we can able to go outbound. So it's allow outbound traffic. So outbound traffic is allowed, and we'll be able to update ourselves, and that we can do. Not only that, if we wanted to connect to any service, we can do that as well. Now, second scenario. The second scenario says that this is my server, and if you are here, then I'm very sure that you know what our server EC2 in AWS. So EC2 in AWS is server. Now, if my server is accessing S3, so S3 is what public service, is a storage which does not live inside VPC. So let's say this is my S3, and my server is wanted to access S3. Now what? I need to have, I need to connect my private server with S3, but S3 is a public service. So how will I be doing that? Then you have one more again option. You can go with NAT gateways, and you can do that. You can go with NAT gateway and you can do that. So what will happen? First, it will get connected with NAT gateway. NAT gateway will be connected and it will be going on internet, and you will be accessing a service. But overall, what will be the problem? I will just discuss after I explain you NAT gateway practically. So let's understand NAT gateway and do it practically, NAT gateway, and try to explain you the things. Fine. So this is what I'm going to explain you the things on NAT. Fine. Let's start. So if you have understanding of NAT, trust me, you are going to enjoy this session. And then understand the drawback of NAT, why VPC endpoint is coming. So first understand NAT, then drawback of NAT, and then VPC endpoint, and then EC2 connect. Let's start. So what am I going to do is I am going to take you to my AWS console. So if I take you to my AWS console, you see here I'm in Mumbai right now, and I have two servers, which is endpoint server 2 and endpoint server 1, which I already created. See, I'm not here to waste anyone's time. I did every infrastructure pre-created. This is my public server and this is my private server. Let me show you. So if I click on endpoint server 1, if I click on endpoint server 1, you have an idea that this server is having this public IP. Obviously, if it is having a public IP, it's a public server. Fine. And it is lying in Publicis VPC. I take batches of Publicis, so I created Publicis VPC, and it is lying in public subnet of Publicis VPC. While if I go and click on endpoint server 2, EC2, it don't have any public IP. So if it don't have any public IP, what exactly this server is lying is also lying in Publicis VPC, but this server is lying in private subnet. So it is lying in a private subnet. Now my challenge is to update this server, endpoint server 2. But since it is lying in a private, I will not be able to. Let's start and enjoy. So what am I going to do is that, first of all, I'm going to connect to my public server. So if I click on connect, select the server, and if I click on connect, and if I go and connect my server, which is there in Mumbai, will be connecting to my public server. I'm connecting to my public server. You see this? I connected. So I'm connected to my public server, and the private IP of my public server is 10.0.14.55. First see that. So the private IP 10.0.14.55. Fine. But will I be able to connect to my private server? Because it don't have any internet connectivity, will I be able to? No. If I go and click on connect, see, I will not be able to. It says no public IPv4 or IPv6 you have. Instance is not in a public subnet. So I am not having any connect options. So when I'm not having any connect option, how will I be connecting this server? How I'll be checking? So here comes Bastion host, or you have heard of services called jump servers. So now endpoint server 2 means the private server. Now understand this. Now this private server will request this server, hey, please, I wanted you to help me to connect. Now who is saying this? Private server is saying to public server, can you be my jump server? Can you help me to connect? So this server will say, please, I can, but I should be knowing what is your key. So what key you are using? Let me show you the key which I'm using for private server. EPKP. So this is key pair which I'm using. So public server is saying, you can, I will help you to connect, but I need to have your public key, which I already did. So let me show you. This is where I'm connected to my server. Let me type sudo su. I become a super user. And if I type ls, and yes, you have this key. So my public server has a key of my private server. Now, will I be able to? Yes. How to prove that, Parul, this is a public server? You type ping 8.8.8.8 Google, you ping Google, and you are able to ping Google. So it's proof that this is public server. So endpoint server 1 is your public server. It has public IP and it's able to go to ping Google. But now with the help of my public server, I'm going to connect with my private server. So let me come out of it. So I came out, and now I need help of this endpoint server 1 to connect to my private server. So what is my private server? This. What is the private IP of my private server? Let me check, because it has only one IP, 10.0.24.5. So I'll be using SSH command. So what is SSH commands? So if you go and click on connect, and if you go and click on SSH, fine. So here is the IP, the command SSH-I endpoint key pair EC2 user @private IP. Let me copy this and let me go to the public server and let me paste here the command which is going to connect private server using public server. Let me press enter, and I'm connected. Don't you trust me? 10.0.24.5 is the private IP of private server. You see this, no? Where I'm joking. I'm not joking at all. You see, you just simply go and click on instances, and if you go and see on instances, you see this. So what is the private? 10.0.24.5 is my private server. So now I'm connected to my private server. Even without having public IP, I can do that. I can do that. That's why I will teach you what if I don't have any jump server. What if I don't? Then I will teach you EC2 Instance Connect Point. Here I need one friend. What if I don't have friend? Then also we can connect. That's why I'm going to teach you third topic as well. So be here, enjoy the thing, and you are going to learn. Fine. So let's understand. So what am I doing here is I'm going to do, so if I do, I'm connected with a private, but if I type here ping, ping 8.8.8.8, will I be able to access internet? No, I'm not able to. I'm not able to, because this is private server, and private server has no connectivity of internet gateway. So if I talk about this server, it has no connectivity of internet gateway. So let me just open my Epic Pen just so that I can explain you here as well. So see, what am I trying to explain you here is that, see, let me draw the complete architecture so that you understand once again. So what am I saying is that this is my VPC, publicist VPC. I have one public subnet. I have one private server. So this is public subnet. There is one server, public server, and this is private server. First, I connected this, and using this, I connected this server. But when I'm typing in this server ping 8.8.8.8, I'm not able to, because the server has no connectivity of internet gateway. Fine. So what will happen now? What if I wanted to update myself? How will I be doing? So we'll be going and using NAT gateways. So let's use NAT gateway. So we'll deploy NAT gateway in public subnet, and we'll make entry of NAT gateway in the route table of private subnet. And then we'll see, now we are able to access internet. Now we are able to go out. Now we can update ourselves. Let's do that. So what am I going to do is that I'm simply going to VPC. Which VPC? Publicist VPC. So simply what I'll do, I'll simply select and open in a new tab my VPC. Fine. So I'm in VPC panel in Mumbai, and then I'm going to create NAT gateways. So I'll simply go and click on NAT gateway. There is no NAT gateway. I will create NAT gateway. I will give NAT gateway as SpringPeople NAT gateway, SpringPeople NAT SP NAT. Fine. Which subnet? Obviously in a public subnet of publicist. Public subnet. Fine. Do you want elastic? Yes, we will be allocating elastic IPs, static IPs to my NAT gateways. And now let's do one thing, create NAT gateway. So what am I doing? I created NAT gateway. But NAT gateway should be there in the route table, in the private route table, means in the route table of private subnet. So if I go and click on subnet, and if I go and click on publicist private subnet, if I go and click on publicist private subnet, and if I see the route table, it should be having a NAT gateway entry. So what it is having is the old NAT gateway entry. I should be having a new NAT gateway entry. So what I'll be doing, I'll be going on route tables, and I am going to create entry in the private route table. So what is my private route table of publicist? This one. So this is my private route table. Let me select this. So this is black hole because this is previous NAT gateway. That's why it says it's black hole. So let me edit this. Let me remove the black hole and let me add the new NAT gateway. So I wanted to go out via NAT gateway. Which NAT gateway? SP NAT. Yes. And let me save the changes. Now the route table of a private subnet, has an entry of NAT gateway. Now let me check. Am I able to go out now? Am I able to go out? Am I able to connect? So let's see. Let me see. And let me just come out of it. And let me again type ping. We'll wait for a few minutes till it will take some time, and we'll check that now still we are not, it's taking, it might be going on the process of creation, but very soon we'll see that we should be able to access internet. So we'll wait for some minute more. Yes, can you see this? I am. Who is accessing internet? 10.0.24.5. 10.0.24.5 is what? Private server. You go here and again see. You see what is the IP of private server? 10.0.24.5 and 10.0.24.5 is accessing internet. And if I have an internet connectivity, I can update myself. I can update myself. This is the beauty of NAT gateway. So NAT gateway, and only outbound traffic is there, which is helping this NAT gateway. So this is not outbound traffic and it is helping. So this is what NAT gateway is, and you can check that. So let me come out of it. So let me come out of it so that I came out of it. If I again ping, so which server? I'm in private server. If I come out and if I again ping, I'm able to. But what if I remove NAT gateway? So what I'll do, I'll simply go here on VPC, and if I'll click on NAT gateways, and if I delete NAT gateway, what will happen? If I go to action, and if I delete NAT gateways, delete, D-E-L-E-T, if I delete NAT gateway, now there is no one to help my server to access internet. Let's check that. And it stopped. And stopped. It's not accessing internet. It stopped here at this 24th step. You can see it stopped. Now it don't have any internet connectivity. So if I come out and if I again ping, it will not. It will not, because it's a private server and there is no NAT gateway. So this is what I did, and I showed you what is NAT gateway, and you have an idea of it. Now, but Parul, you are here to explain us VPC endpoint. Why you are explaining NAT gateway? And it's a very valid question which is coming in your mind. If a trainer is here for VPC endpoint, then why the hell he started with NAT gateway? So very important thing is that you should first understand the problem statement, and then we'll go with the solution. So let's talk of one analogy, and you will understand what am I trying to say. So let's understand an analogy. So analogy goes like this. So allow me a minute. So analogy goes like this. Let's say we all are working in an organization, and an organization took all of us to a hotel. Fine. And in hotel, we 10 employees went for a tour, and in hotel there are 10 rooms. Fine. Or 20 rooms, and we are staying in different rooms. Fine. So this is we are staying in a different rooms. Now imagine the cell phone cost or mobile cost of talking for 1 minute is 10 rupees. Let's say we all went United States, and when we are talking from you, then the cost of 1 minute of call is 10 rupees. Now we are in a hotel. And when we are in a hotel, and here we also have an intercom. In this room also we have an intercom. So why am I using cell phone to talk to my friend? I have an intercom. I can select. I can call him to his room number, and we can talk to each other. That too with very low amount of free of cost. Why am I using cell phone? Because if we are in a place and we have service of intercom, and when you go to hotel, you call reception by pressing 9, you call services. So do they have any kind of charge? No, it's their own network. And in your own network, you need not to pay extra. Fine. But if you are connecting from your hotel to another franchisee somewhere outside, then you have to pay. But otherwise, if you're in the same hotel, no, not required. Exactly same concept is coming with VPC endpoint also. Second thing, when I am in a same hotel and I'm using cell phones, so no matter we are sitting close to each other, and two cell phones are very close to each other. If I'm calling from one cell phone to this cell phone, call will never go like this. Call will first go to nearest BTS. This is called base transceiver stations, and then it will start ringing this phone. So now request is going on internet also. So this is something very bad. Same I'm going to take. Now let's come to AWS. So this was our analogy. Let's understand the technical term. Now let's understand technically. So we have VPC. Yes. We have one private server subnet. Yes. There is one private server. Yes. Now here we have internet gateway. This is VPC. This is subnet. And this is public subnet. This is private subnet. And this is public subnet. Fine. Now I have to connect with S3. As per your knowledge with NAT gateway, you will talk to your organization. Your organization say this server need to talk to S3. Now when this server need to talk to S3, you know that S3 is a public server. So you will give a solution, sir. We will deploy NAT gateway here. Then via NAT gateway we can connect to S3. You will be fired. You will be fired from your organization, or I'm telling you, you actually don't have any knowledge on AWS for this particular topic. Because NAT, you know what your manager will say. Do you have an idea of NAT? NAT is very costly thing, and NAT costs you $0.05 per hour. It's a hourly charges device, and also you have to pay $0.05 per GB data transfer. So NAT itself is a costly thing, first thing. Second, it's taking your request to the internet, and internet is a threat. Anything can happen on internet. When anything can happen on internet, I'm paying also and I'm taking threat also. What a bad service it is then. I'm paying also and I'm paying also, and my request is going over internet. Means my server is accessing S3 over internet, even though my server is private. Then why the hell I'm using this? Then AWS says, don't use internet gateway, don't use NAT gateway, don't use internet. Simply go and create VPC endpoint. Now with VPC endpoint, what you can do, you can connect to two AWS services. EC2 is one service, S3 is one privately. So we can build a private connection. That is, this server will connect to S3 without internet, but via AWS network. So we'll be using AWS network, and where I'm going on internet and I'm accessing that. So let me first show you the NAT charges. You will love to see the NAT charges. Let me show you the NAT charges. So if I wanted to show you the NAT charges, I use NAT. So that's why I'm showing you the NAT charges. If I go to my billing and cost management. So first of all, I would love to show you the NAT drawback. Understand the drawback of NAT. Fine. See, everything has advantage and disadvantage too. So let me show you. So this is my bill of last month. So let me go and click on bills. And I have used NAT gateway in Paris. So let me in the month of August. So I'll go to August, fine. And let me show you some bills of August. So these are some bills of August, and I will take you to EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, and then I will take you to Paris. And in Paris, if I click here and if I show you, so NAT gateway per hour charges $0.05, and it has cost me $18. See, for 378 hours, it cost me $18. Fine. And also there is a 0.5 GB per GB data transfer charges. It's taking device charge also and data transfer charge also. So see, I'm not teaching you theoretically. I'm trying to explain you to understand the issue, problem statement. This is the problem. So what is the solution then, Kundra? So we'll go and move to the solution. So what am I going to do? I wanted to access what? S3, but without NAT gateway. So come back here and do one thing again. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to connect to my public server. I'm going to connect to my public server. Let me click. First of all, I would also like to show you my S3s. You see my S3s, so that you have a proper idea on S3s also. So if you see my S3 buckets, so let me show you my S3 so that you have an idea that I'm doing the same thing what you're here for. So you see my S3. So I have 28 buckets: Abhinav bucket, Agilisium bucket, Agilisium bucket, Aishwarya bucket, Arlene bucket. So I have so many buckets in my account. So total 28 bucket. You remember any of the name? Deloitte bucket, Deloitte Gurugram bucket. So you remember Mindtech bucket, fine, Sapient bucket, SpringPeople bucket. So I have so many buckets in my account, around 28 buckets. Now I wanted to access my bucket from my private server without NAT gateway. How to do that? Go again. First, I need a helper. So helper is my public server. So I will request public server for a connection. So I will connect with my public server because public server is my helper. So I'll go with EC2 connection and I will click on connect. So my public server is only there to help me to connect my private server. And I'll show you that I will not use after this. Okay, and then I wanted to connect with my private server. So I'll type sudo su to become super user, and I'll use the same command which you know, ssh -i the key pair, and then EC2 user, the private IP of private server. If I press enter, and I'm connected to private server. But if I type AWS S3 ls to list my buckets, it says no, I cannot access your bucket. I don't have internet connectivity. How can I access your buckets? I'm a private server. How can you type this command? I said, okay, let me come out. So I came out. I said, let me exit. Let me exit from you. So this is now my public server. So if I type same command, AWS S3 ls. So it says invalid access key IDs and access key. So I need to give some access key IDs. Permissions means access key ID to my public server also, because I don't have, I have not given. So I will give some permission first. So permission is via AWS configure, and I will give access key ID. So let me give some access key ID. Allow me 1 minute. So these are connectivity options. So I'll go and give access key IDs. So yeah, this is my access key ID. So I said, okay, Control C, and C, take my access key ID. Oh no, let me copy once again. Control Z. Yeah, so this is my access key ID. So let me copy. Control C. This is for programmatic access. So let me go here and copy my access key ID. Then it will ask me for secret access key. So this is my secret access key. Control C, and let me paste it here. And this is my secret access key. Let me paste. Default region, I'm okay with US East 1 or AP South 1. AP South 1, I wanted to be in Mumbai, and output format. Now I type AWS S3 LS. List all my buckets. It listed Agilicium, Abhinav, all my bucket, because this is public server. But if I go and try the same in my private server, so first of all I connect to my private server, and then I have to give AWS configure over here also. So let me just give AWS configure over here also, configure over here also. Fine. And it asked me for my access key ID. So it has PTD4. I think it has, then I need not to give. So it's PTD4. Yes, it has. I need not to give that. So let me press enter, 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 and enter. And now if I type AWS S3 LS, please list my buckets, AWS S3 and LS. I'm not, because it's a private server. And how can you type this command when I don't have internet connectivity? This is the issue. Now with, so what? Should I go with internet gateway? No. Should I go with NAT gateways? No. Now I will use the beauty of service, which is called VPC endpoint. So I'm going to create VPC endpoint. And for that, I'm going to connect S3s. Let's do that. So how am I going to do? So again, I will go to VPC. So what I'll do, I'll type here VPC. I will not create any NAT gateways now. I'll go to VPC. Now see, understand this. I'll go to VPC and I will create endpoint. So we have endpoints. So for endpoint, we have two type of endpoint, gateway endpoint, and we have interface endpoint. So let me show you that as well. So what am I going to discuss is, see, we did that. So we have seen VPC and subnets. In NAT gateway, we have covered NAT gateway. You have seen that. Now VPC endpoint, and we have two type of VPC endpoint, and we are going to connect, see, access AWS services without internet, gateway, NAT gateway, or public IP. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to access this server with S3 or DynamoDB without internet, NAT gateway and internet gateway. So how? Using endpoint. So we have gateway endpoint and interface endpoint. I'm going to use gateway endpoint for S3. So let's do that. So I'm in S3, I'm in VPC. I will click on endpoint. I'll simply click on endpoint, and I will create one endpoint, and I will name it as SpringPeople Endpoint, SPEP, SpringPeople Endpoint. And for what am I using endpoint? For AWS services, to connect AWS services privately. Fine. So for AWS services, okay, which AWS service? In Mumbai, there are 300 in North Virginia. So why am I in North Virginia? I should be in Mumbai. So I'm working in Mumbai. I should be in Mumbai. Otherwise, I will get an error. So wait. So first of all, I should be in Mumbai because my servers are in Mumbai. Fine. So we are talking of Mumbai. So yeah, so we are in Mumbai. So let me create endpoint. So I'm in Mumbai. So endpoint, SpringPeople endpoint. Great. For what? For AWS services. Which AWS service? In Mumbai, there are 201 services. What? I think S3. Okay, so let me press for S3. Gateway endpoint is also there. Interface endpoint is there. So I said I'll go with gateway endpoint. So let me select gateway endpoint. And then which VPC? Where is your VPC? So Publicis VPC. My servers are in Publicis VPC. Okay. So you wanted to create endpoint where? In a public subnet or a private, in a public route table or a private route table? Obviously, I'm talking of private route table. Okay. Now, what am I going to do is that simply I'm going to create endpoint, and I'm creating an endpoint. So my SpringPeople endpoint is created. Let me go and see that AWS S3 LS will work or not. Control. Now let me type AWS S3 LS. And yes, I can see it listed all my bucket. If you don't trust, you again type AWS S3 LS. And if I type without any NAT gateway, without internet connectivity, I'm able to access my bucket. With private server 10.0.24.5, I'm able to access all my bucket. This is the beauty of VPC endpoint. So VPC endpoint, now what am I doing is that I'm saying I'm not going with any NAT gateway. I show you the drawback of NAT gateway. I said will not use any NAT gateway, will not use any internet gateway, will not use any public IPs. I am connecting with my private server with S3 using VPC endpoint. And which VPC endpoint? Gateway endpoint. Gateway endpoint. And I did that. And in front of you, what if I delete? So before I delete, again, see, I'm able to connect. I'm able to access my S3s. AWS S3 list all my buckets. Again, it again listed all my bucket. So it listed Carlos, Aishwarya, Agilisium, all my bucket. But what if I delete endpoint? If I again go to action and delete VPC endpoint, and if I write here delete, and if I delete, then will I be able to access? So let me check that. And if I type here AWS S3LS, it says no, sir. No, you don't have any endpoint. You will not be able to access. Either give me an internet or give me private connectivity. So to two AWS services to talk each other privately, then we have a very good service nowadays, VPC endpoint. Now moving toward the last question of a day, a last topic of a day, and the last topic of a day talks about, hey Parul, I said yes. Why the hell every time first you are connecting public server and then you are connecting private server? Is it what if I don't have any friend in my life? Then there is a concept called you walk alone. No. Now AWS has created a thing called EC2 Endpoint Connect. So I will show you. Till now I am connecting with server using public server. No, I don't want. I don't want. Let me remove this and let me see what server I have. I have server, and this server is crying that I need a friend to connect. I said no. If I click on connect the private server, and if I go and click on connect, it says that Parul, I can't do that. I really can't do that. I don't have a connection option enabled because I don't have public IP. I said, no, I don't want public IP. I will use this method. No, connect using EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint. I'm going to use this. So this is my thing. I'm going to use this. So what am I going to use? This is I'm going to use EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint, and I don't need any friend after this. So let's do it. Let's do it. So do I have any EC2 Instant Connect point? No, I don't have. So let me create endpoint. Same. I'll click here and it will take me to the same window. It will take me to the same window where I was creating. Now I'm not creating any endpoint for AWS services. I'm creating endpoint for EC2. So I'll write SpringPeople EC2 Connect. Well, any name you wanted to give, anything you can connect. CONNECT. So connect, fine. And now not for AWS services, but for EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint. My EC2 has no public IP, but I wanted it to connect. So I will use EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint. Which VPC your EC2 is lying? My VPC is lying in Publicis VPC. Oh, great. What security group it has? So it has endpoint security group. If you don't believe it, fine. So let me show you first what security group it is using. So what am I going to do is I'm going back. So let's go back. And what security group it is using? Endpoints. So if I go and click on security group, so what security? So let's click on security. So it's using EPSG. Yes, great. So we'll be using that. So yeah, EPSG, the security group. Fine. So let me select that. And what am I going to do? And which subnet? Where is your server lying? So my server is lying in a private subnet. So I selected Publicis private subnet, and it is using this security group. My server is lying here. Please help me. I'm creating endpoint. I'm creating endpoint, and it will take few minutes to create expanding. And within few minutes, when it is available, I will be showing you that without any friend, I don't need any friend to connect now. I can simply connect using EC2 Connect Endpoint. So it's pending, we'll wait for a few seconds. Till it is available, and we are going to connect using this endpoint. We'll wait. Once it is available, only then it will be visible. Means if I go and select my instance and click on connect, and since I don't have public IP, so I have to go with connect using EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint. I'll select this. So here it will start visible. So it says it's in a progress. So creation is in progress. SpringPeople EC2 Connect is in a progress. So it's showing that, yeah, something is coming. Wait, have patience. Something is coming. Don't be in hurry. We are creating for a endpoint for you. Don't be in hurry. I said, yes, I'm not in. Even I can watch here. It's in a pending state. So we'll wait for it. Yeah, it's still not available here because it is in a pending state. Yes. So just wait. So here, it's just a very important thing to understand that we are not using any server to connect. We are not using any server to connect to my private server. So we don't want any jump server or bastion hosts. This is very important for your certification exams. If you have not gone, if you're learning this AWS, then this is going to help you. Next, what I have shown you also my pricing. So you need to take care of pricing as well, because sometime NAT is not a very good service. Sometimes it's a good, but always see every coin has two sides. So when every coin has a two sides, so you need to think of all those from the perspective of cost. We are here on AWS. Why we are on AWS? See, we are on AWS for one thing. See, AWS says that what AWS is saying, or any cloud says. So we are on a cloud because we don't want it to work on capex. We don't want it to work on capex. We wanted to work on opex. What is capex? Capital expenditure. We don't want it to deploy. We don't want it to have a capital expenditure. Either we are in a model where we wanted to go with operational expenditure. Whatever we are using, we are paying for that. What is cloud computing? Pay as you use model. Pay as you use. So whatever you are using, you are paying for that. So it is very important to use AWS services wisely. Otherwise, what happened, when I teach S3, I show this image. Let me show you this image. This is something fantastic image. Today, I was just teaching Gensar. So I showed that this image. So if you don't use S3 wisely, so you will start crying. So I pushed my data to S3 Glacier to save cost. And now it is costing me more to restore data. Means even if you're using S3 also, then you have to take very good care of which S3 to use and when to use which S3. It's not like that if I can put my data in any storage. In order to save cost, I will put my data to Glacier, but once I'm retrieving data from Glacier, it will cost more. So only when you store your data to Glacier means when you are very sure that you are not going to access data frequently. And if you are accessing data frequently, then Glacier is not made for you. Glaciers are made for long storage and not for every time retrieval. So it's in a pending state, it's available. Now let's do that. So we'll go and refresh it. So endpoint is there, and see, I'm getting a connect option here. Wow, I'm getting a connect option here without any friend. I don't want any public server. Let me go and click on connect. I don't want any public server now. AWS has created a very fantastic service called EC2 Connect Endpoint. I'm connected. 10.0.24.5 is connected without taking the help of Bastion host or without taking the help of anyone. I'm connected. So this is what I wanted to discuss in this course. What we have discussed. Let's have a quick recap. So what we discussed actually, we discussed, in order to understand VPC endpoint, I have explained you what was before endpoint. So what was before endpoint was NAT gateways. Then I've shown you NAT gateway is not always good. It has a drawback that its charges are very high. It's $0.05 per hour device charges and $0.05 per GB data transfer charges. What if I wanted to transfer data in the same region and not wanted to go to internet? I don't want any internet gateway. I don't want any public IP. I don't want any NAT gateways. So for that, you have VPC endpoints. So you go and take the services of VPC endpoint, and VPC endpoint is going to help you for that. And that we have understood. And then every time when I was connecting to my private server, I was taking help of public servers or jump servers. It was helping private server to connect. What if I don't want? Then you have EC2 Instance Connect Point. So you have EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint, and that was our topic. And we did it everything practically. So what we actually did, so first of all, we have our VPC. So in our VPC, there were two subnet, one public subnet, one private subnet, and there are two servers, one server here, one server here. Fine. This was public server or public subnet, a public server and a private subnet. That is what we have discussed. Then we discussed subnets. What are subnets? A subnet can be public, a subnet can be private. Fine. Then the route table entries which we made for NAT gateway here in a private. Then we discussed NAT gateways. What is NAT gateway? So NAT gateway, you deployed NAT gateway in a public subnet. We did that. We got our IP, elastic IP, and using that we were able to access internet. But we wanted to keep our connections to AWS services private. Then we have VPC endpoint. So we talked on one of the endpoint. Next time we talk on other endpoints as well. So we talked today that we are connecting our two AWS services privately using VPC endpoint. So I am accessing AWS services without internet, without NAT or any public IP. Fine. We have two type of endpoints, gateway endpoint and interface endpoint. Now EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint is something which is very fantastic, and you enjoyed that, I'm very sure. And these are some important topics. I mean, these are some important what you say, a data on EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint. So Amazon EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint is a feature that allow user to securely connect private subnets and EC2 instances from the internet without public IP, without bastion host or any agent. We don't want it, and we connected that, and that is more secure method of connections. And now over to Reha. Hi Reha. Hi Reha, are you there? Thank you so much. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Parul. Your invaluable insights on technology. I'm sure it was certainly a very informative session for all of you. If you are interested in learning more about AWS course, check out our super discounted batches of virtual instructor LED trainings on our website, springpeople.com. These VILT trainings can be accessed online from the comfort of your home and are flexible according to your schedule and location. Special offers: AWS Solutions Architect Associate 75 to 80% off. Systems Operations on AWS 75 to 80% off. AWS Cloud Practitioner Foundational Level Course 30% off. AWS Skill Builder 70% off. If you don't find any suitable batches, we'd be happy to discuss and schedule private batches for you. If you don't have time to join live online, try out our affordable self-paced courses. For more information, write to us at training@springpeople.com or call the number displayed on the current slide. Thank you, Parul, once again, and thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. We shall be sending out the webinar recording to all you participants soon. I request you to kindly provide feedback before signing off. which will help us improve the quality of our future events. Thanks again for joining us today. Signing off on behalf of Team Spring People. Hope to see you again for our next expert webinar. Thank you.